This is Claire Ratliff with Laughing Penguin Publicity, and you're listening to the business side of music.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today, Amy Wolter, who is with Tom Jackson Productions. As a trained live music producer, Amy offers her years of personal experience on stage, along with a multi-layered musical background, to help artists engage their audiences by creating compelling, memorable live shows, which is so important these days. A little bit of history on Amy. She was the co-lead singer in the Midwest-based rock band Fighter, and has been on stage in front of thousands of people over the years. The band was signed to word label Wonderland, and her songwriting skills earning the band's top 10 CCM hits. This was followed by the release of her solo project, Hit Me in the Heart. In addition to her career as an artist, Amy has earned the titles of producer, arranger, keyboardist, competition judge, session singer, and jingle composer. All of this experience culminates in her position as that live music producer and enables her to help artists in a big way. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Bob.
It's been in the works for a while. I know we've been trying to get you on, but our ships have not crossed paths until recently. Now that we know a little bit about you, let's talk about how did you connect with Tom Jackson Productions. And for those that don't know who Tom Jackson is, Google it. Because what you guys do, what you folks do at Tom Jackson Productions is pretty amazing. How'd you two connect?
His best friend, Dave Bunker, was managing our band, Fighter.
Okay.
That you talked about. And we had already moved here, and I'd been trying different things, doing some, like you said, like session work and things like that. He introduced me to Tom because he told Tom that he felt like I was a really good performer in the band, and he says, I think she'd be good at what you do. And at the time, Tom was just swamped and looking for, someone to step in and help him out. And once I found out exactly what it was, actually, we had some Tom Jackson cassettes, his very first cassette tape series. It had like a paper, but worksheets, and I had kind of listened to it, but we never really applied any of it as a band or anything. So Tom interviewed me kind of in a casual, informal way, of course, and his California vibe. At the end of the conversation, he kind of leaned back. He goes, I like your vibe. It's like, okay. But I knew after hearing it all, and it just like something clicked, and I said, I want to do this. I have to do this.
I notice when I go see artists perform on stage, and their music's great, their songs are fantastic, but there's no interaction with the audience. They're either looking down or they're looking away. And is that where part of being a live music producer comes into play, to help them navigate those waters?
Yes. It's all about, the live show is all about connecting with the audience and fulfilling and answering the question, what does the audience come for? They don't just come to hear songs. They come to be, for three reasons. They come to be captured and engaged. They come to experience moments, And in some cases, they come to have their lives changed in some way. Maybe they're looking for an answer in a lyric or, whatever it is. So those three things are what we key on. We go into sessions cracking open a song and saying, where in the song is the moment? And we crack that open and figure out, okay, this, some songs turned into a touching moment, maybe just by virtue of telling the story about the song, putting the artist on a stool instead of standing behind the mic. Some songs just inherently call for a fun moment. So, okay, the audience really wants to, this is a hooky line here that the audience is dying to sing to. Let's just make that happen. Let's extend that section in the song. In other words, we don't want people to be tied to the recording, because if we do that, we cheat the live audience out of the experience of the song, if that makes sense to you.
Well, I think it does. And as I said earlier, there's more to the show than just performing.
Mm-hmm.
There is the choreography. There is the interaction with the audience. So you start before, in most cases, at least hopefully, you start before that takes place, where they set foot on the stage.
Yes.
Do you set up rehearsals, or how does that work?
Yes. We get the music ahead of time. Start listening to that, looking at if they've got some videos, live show videos, and figure out where they're at, what we need to do. So yeah, we pour over the songs and try to find those places where we can expand on and derive the moments from. Then we go into a rehearsal space like sound check here, SIR, or we go to wherever the artist is, all over the country, and Tom's been all over the world, and set up in a rehearsal room like you're on a stage. Then we first look at, the right song arrangement for a live show.
That is so important,
yes,
too, when you start stacking the songs in the correct order.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, the arrangement of the song itself, and yes, we do then deal with the right set list order. That comes later, kind of after we figured out what the moments are, because we have a definite order that really works in terms of where do you put which moment. So, yeah, we go in the rehearsal room. We try a lot of things. We've got a lot of notes coming in. Say, let's play with this bridge, because it's a really cool bridge, but it's only like 2 lines. So sometimes we double it, triple it, quadruple it, and start it really low and then build it up to where by the time you hit the chorus, it just explodes and you're about ready to jump out of your seat. So those emotional moments. So, yeah, we work on then after we create the arrangements, we look at what is the artist doing visually. And we try to avoid that C word, choreography, because that scares people.
Right. What do you mean?
Scares rock and roll guitar players.
I have to be a dancer or something?
Exactly. It's natural movement, but sometimes it doesn't always come naturally to people, especially if they're session people. So just natural movement. So you're not standing in one place. What's going to make sense, first of all, to what the song sounds like? Is the lead singer behind a mic stand, working the mic stand, holding the mic, running around the stage? What kind of interaction makes sense between band members? Some songs is like everybody comes together in the center and then like takes off across the stage. For a guitar solo, you want the audience to know what to look at on stage. So that's why we focus a lot on visuals, what's happening visual, because 55% of what people get communication-wise from the stage is visual, is what they see. So if it's time for a guitar, say this is the guitar player, if you're watching on video, guitar player comes up to the front of the stage, lead singer retreats, what's the audience going to look at? They're going to look at the guitar player. Because it's like
that point of interest.
Yes, it's a visual cue, because audiences are basically ignorant of musical things. Maybe not in this town, depending on who's the crowd, but for the most part, they're looking at if there's 8 members on stage and 3 guitar players, a solo happens and they're looking at the bass player. I mean, they don't know the difference. They're just kind of looking around. But if we show them that they're going to get more out of it, so they're going to see like the passion and that the guy's putting into the lead solo, and it just makes sense to them, and they can relax and know that they're not going to miss anything because we're showing it to them.
I have to laugh there because I've seen so many shows on stage where the lead guitar player will step forward, like you said, and they'll take that solo, and the spotlight automatically pivots to the bass player or the keyboardist. And I'm thinking, whoever the lighting tech is needs to understand too. So, there's a lot of moving parts there. And obviously, we have accomplished songwriters on the show who talk about the craft of creating a song,
right.
Making it a good song,
Sure.
making it a hit. But once you get on stage, beyond that, especially if you're going to be more than a songwriter and you're going to be a performer, you really have to start figuring out what your A game is, because that's what you have to present.
It's a different animal. I mean, you can be the best singer, the best player, the best songwriter, but if you get on stage and don't know how to relate that to the audience in the right way, you're missing a huge piece. And especially now, because 95% plus of an artist's income is going to come from their live shows. Ticket sales, merch sales, huge.
And those fans, those attendees, those concert goers, they're coming to be entertained.
Right.
They don't want to just be sang to.
Right. Yeah. Captured and engaged. That's the one of the three reasons. So they want to leave their humdrum day behind, their bad job, a bad relationship, or whatever, just the dullness of their day, and come and just escape and be there with the artist and engage. So we need to work on that. I mean, there's 100 little things. Eye contact is huge. If you're not looking at the audience, some artists stand there with their eyes closed, never looking out. Maybe they scan the audience, but no one is really being looked at. And I've had example after example of artists that took that one thing and focused on that for the first time they went out. All they focused on was making direct eye contact with people. Now, not too long. We talked to artists about, it's like, finish a phrase or a thought looking at one person and then move on.
Don't get too creepy or stockish. Yeah.
If you see someone fidgeting, move on. But they said the difference it made in how the audience responded to them was shocking. I had a young guitar player in San Diego, and I got to go see him live, but then he said the next show after we worked, he had literally, he was looking at his hands the whole time. Great guitar player, but no audience engagement. He said the next gig, he paid attention and tried looking at people. He said so many people came and wanted to talk to him afterwards, and that never happens.
Because that interaction has now been made. Yeah.
Yeah. And people, I had one girl say she never realized how important it was and how much people wanted to be seen. And I tell artists, what shows have you been to where you were at a show in the audience and the artist or someone on the stage looked at them, and they'll name them right off the bat because they've never forgotten it. I said, how did it make you feel? And they said, yeah, he saw me and he knew we made a connection there. Yeah. And they never forgot it. And I said, well, that's how you've got to look at your audience. They want to feel that too. They want to know that you appreciate the fact that they are there, not just ignore them.
It's a relationship of sorts.
Yeah.
Even if it's just lasting for one song or one night, it's building that relationship, which in turn, now you've maybe created a fan.
Right.
Or a super fan who's going to buy your records, listen to me, who's going to buy your music.
Short for recording. It's still valid. It still works.
I'm an analog guy in a digital world. They're going to buy your merchandise,
right.
And that's ultimately what you want anyway, because you said that's where 95% of the money is derived from.
That's the first place typically artists will see the impact that their show is making. their merch sales go up. I just worked with a 90s country artist who I won't name. I'll tell you later. The first show she went out, and we only got to work about a third of the songs, maybe. They sold so much merch, they paid for my it was the exact amount they paid me to come and work with them for 2 days. Wow. They sold that much merch. So, and I've had so many examples of that. Tom Jackson probably told you about the Taylor Swift merch.
He has not, no.
He had not?
No.
Okay. Well, worked with Taylor halfway through her opening slot with Brad Paisley. The song Tim McGraw was out. They were averaging about 75 cents a head in merch sales the first half of the tour. They worked for a week or two. At the break, she went back out. Merch sales jumped to $4.50 a head.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a vast improvement.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Because she really wanted, she was looking for what Tom did. And the band was into it. She embraced it. And it just instantly worked. In fact, I just watched the Eros tour movie. And she is still using some of those principles because they work, you know, and she knows how to connect with her audience.
Whether you love her or you don't like her, and I'm not going to use the word hate, but whether you love her or you don't like her, she has really set the music business on its ear by what she has created. One of the things and we're getting off topic just a little bit here, but I remember when she came to Nashville and performed, she set up her merchandise trailers outside the stadium 3 or 4 days in advance.
Oh, wow.
Who would do that? But
I didn't realize
she
that.
did, and they had long lines of people trying to get, because you know as well as I do, day of the show.
Yeah.
You know, and not everybody gets that luxury that you can set that up 3 or 4 days in advance. But
yeah, that's
I
brilliant.
got to thinking about it, I'm going, that's smart business right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for a couple of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Amy Wolter.
You're listening to the business side of music.
This is Mark Allen Barnett, singer, songwriter, creative coach, and mentor. Are you an artist or songwriter, or a family member or friend of someone who is? Are you trying to find your way through the often confusing world of today's music business? I'm here to help. Over the past 40 years, I've written and recorded hit songs, have had more than my share of live performances, and have seen the ups and downs of the music industry and what Music City, also known as Nashville, has to offer. I'm here to share that information with you. The Mark Allen Barnett Songwriting Tours of Nashville are a one-day to multi-day private interactive workshops developed to help you discover your best approach to songwriting, performing in front of a live audience, along with the correct way to network within the music industry. Our workshops are based around what you need to know. While in Nashville, you get an insight from behind the scenes, learn about the history of Music City, separate fact from fiction, and give yourself or a loved one the time of your life. This workshop makes the perfect gift for someone you love who wants to get their foot in the door of the music business the right way. For more information, go to www.markallenbarnett.com or www.musicchoosesyou.com. Remember, you don't choose music. Music chooses you.
Since 1963, Korg has been creating new experiences in music and performance. That is what drove the creation of some of Korg's most legendary products, such as the Poly 6, the M1, the Electribe, the Triton, the Minilog, the Kronos, Wave State, Op6, and most recently the Nautilus, which is what we have here in our studio. Korg is dedicated to creating new, innovative, and uncompromising instruments which maintain the highest quality to inspire music makers, past, present, and future. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products and start creating new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio, sitting across the podcast table from me here in Nashville, Tennessee, Amy Wolter, who is with Tom Jackson Productions and Onstage Success, which I guess are 2-in-1, something along those lines?
Yes, it started out as Tom Jackson Productions. The website is called Onstage Success.
Good to know.
Yes, but both of them will. Either one you Google will take you to the right place.
How did Tom get his start? Because I will tell you, he has been very successful. Before the show, I had mentioned to you that one of my clients that I worked with consulting years ago, we wound up hiring Tom to help him with the choreography and the stage presence. Because I hate to say it, but the artist was kind of a dead fish on stage until Tom got a hold of him and really turned things around. How did that all get started?
Well, Tom was in a band that was doing 400 dates a year. I mean, they do 2 and 3 high school assemblies during the day and a show at night at the end of the week or something in an area. And so just like pack it up. So talk about getting your chops honed. But they worked on a lot of performance things, I believe, in that band. But he said it was the one thing. He had an epiphany where one night one of their shows was just terrible. Nothing was right sound-wise and things like that. But they still did they knew how to still connect with the audience, but the actual performance, they didn't think it was musically great at all. In fact, I think the drummer broke his arm or something, was playing with one arm. But he said they got a standing ovation, and it just made him go, what's going on here? And he started analyzing what was it that people connected with if it wasn't a perfect musical show.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he went down that road and he started going to shows and analyzing what makes me engaged right now with this artist. Oops, they just lost me. What was it? And he started studying those things. It was a lot of visual things. And just developed all these things after just observing. He'd start working with bands. They'd come to him and, hey, we're doing a showcase. We need your help. And help bands in L.A. do that for a while. And then he just finally created the business. I don't know how long that ramp was in terms of when he started, studying bands and to actually starting the business. But
you folks have been very successful at that with turn and not just, how do I say this? Not just no-name acts,
right?
But you've worked with some established artists too.
Yeah.
In really turning their live performance around because maybe they were missing something. How does that come about?
A lot of it is word of mouth because of Tom's reputation. He's got not only have several videos out, but his book, Live Music Method, is pretty amazing. And people that have read it, they keep it on their buses and refer to it a lot. And so there's that. But he's also spoken to a lot of musicians around the world at workshops and seminars and stuff. So that's been a real, I think he feels like he's probably spoken to more musicians than about any other industry type around the country and around the world. Yeah. But yeah, it's reputation. Somebody saying, wow, my show jumped, took a big leap after working with them, or even for a day or whatever.
Was there ever a disappointment with an act or an artist that you worked with?
Sure. I've had a few of those where I went to see the show after we worked, and I'm thinking, where's everything we worked on?
Yeah. Were you actually listening to me?
Oh, my gosh. It's like, oh, you're ruining this chance that you had to perform in front of all these people. Every show is the possibility of winning new fans and getting more income from merch sales and stuff. And you're just, I don't know. I'm just terribly disappointed many times. Not a huge amount of times, but I've always.
But enough of it for you to go, really?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you think, and I see this quite a bit in our business, and sorry if it offends anybody, but I see a lot of it, and that's ego. And ego gets in the way, and ego can prevent you from learning what somebody who's had success, such as you and Tom have done over the years, okay, great, I did it. Now I'm going to go back and do it my way anyway, because that's somewhat describing what you just shared.
Yeah, it is. I just worked with someone in their 60s that has had a long and pretty successful career, but they still remain teachable and wanting to know how I need to make this better. I need to jack this up and keep going.
But that's the key word there. Yeah. They remain to be teachable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without that, anybody, in fact, I just talked to a friend today. She was telling her son, you've got to be teachable throughout your life. He's just going to graduate from high school. You've got to stay teachable. Otherwise, you're not going to progress and get to where you want to be. So those are the most successful artists, willing to learn and humble themselves. And I mean, it's actually tougher a lot of times to work with older, more seasoned artists because they've got long years of habits, both good and bad, built in. And a lot of times I'm having to break some of those bad habits.
Now that we've talked about some of the biggest disappointments out there, compliments, comments that your clients have made to you, that it's kind of that attaboy or attagirl, and you go, yeah, we did something right here.
Yep, I had one manager text me. He said, "You're a genius." I was like, okay, tell me more. He said, the artist brought the house down. And then the next text said, "Did I mention you're a genius?" And then
that's got to be a feel-good moment.
Oh my gosh. The very first one of those texts I got, it was early in the texting days too. I had worked with a band I had 2 days to work with them. We worked on a 45-minute set. I mean, we were pumping to get it. And I made a ton of changes. I had a shy violin player. There were 2 violins. It was kind of a violin rock band, if that makes sense. 2 violins, a lead singer with an acoustic, bass drums. The girl also played keys. So I was changing things. I pretty much rocked their world as they knew it. The shy violin player became a rock star. I took the guitar off the lead singer for most songs because he was just tied behind it, and he didn't need it. There was all this, plenty of instruments where he didn't need an acoustic on every song. Once I took it off of him, because I could see this Freddie Mercury-esque vibe in him, that if I could just let him loose, take that thing away, give him the mic, and sure enough, he just it was awkward for him at first, because most guitar players are like, "This is my security blanket. I can't take it up."
He was the lead singer of the band. So he's got the safety net of a guitar, but it's actually getting in the way.
Yeah, right. So he started to become more comfortable over the 2 days, and I had the 2 violin players doing these back and duels, and so visually even that was exciting, and that actually became a big draw of the band because it was so unique. We do battle it out between the violin and the bass player versus the other violin player and the lead player. So there was so much fun, and they sat down with me at the end. So once we were all done, the girl says, "We're so different now." She goes, "What are our friends and our fans going to think?" And I said, "Okay, right here, this is the time you got to decide." I said, "Sure, you've got some fans right now, but you're getting ready to do a whole slew of summer festivals in front of thousands of new potential fans. Are you going to let your small circle dictate what you do, or are you going to just say, let's go for it?" And I left there praying, hoping they would not go back to their old. So fast forward a couple weeks later, I get a text saying, "Festival's going great. Fans and promoters telling us we're the best live show they've seen."
Wow.
And they paid for my fee that they paid me in 2 shows. They sold so much merch. No one knew who they were. No songs on the radio.
They were basically an opening act.
Yeah, side stages at every festival. The next year, they were booked at main stage at each one of those festivals.
And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's part of that growth that we talk about. You're not hitting those glass ceilings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because that'll stop our career in a heartbeat.
Yeah. They were willing to say, screw it, let's go for it.
Yeah.
We don't care what people say about us, or, you know, the few people that might say something negative, you know, like, who do you think you are?
I think if we worry about what our mom or our dad or our brothers or sisters or our Aunt Alice or our Uncle Joe, you know, if we worry about what they think, we're worrying about the wrong things. Because that's not your audience. That's your family.
Yep.
That's not your fan base. That's blood.
Right.
And you really have to focus on, and let's jump back to Taylor Swift. I think what she has accomplished in this Eras tour that she's done has really set the bar for so many artists that are out on stadium tours and they're not accomplishing what she's accomplished because she has crashed through that glass ceiling. And, and whether you're Taylor Swift or, as you said, that unknown act that's playing on side stages, that's really your goal.
Right. And starting out, I mean, we are always, of course, now she's got the technology and stuff, and she can, you know, that's become so much a part of larger shows. But we start with, can your show stand on what you're doing on stage? It has to start with that.
Right.
And then if you have lights, if you have production, if you have sets, that just adds to it. But I want you to be able to stand on, you get on any stage and boom, you can blow people away.
You have
just
to be able
with in your own, in yourself, in your band, stand there and deliver and really engage people.
You have to stand on your own merits before you start worrying about pyro and all the other things.
Right. And I always try to prepare artists for where they want to be. In other words, if they're playing in bars now, but they want to be playing stadiums, let's think outside the bar. Or, you know, let's change our banter, let's change our mindset, change our look, so that people just go, wow, who are these guys? And in fact, I just have a Canadian group of girls that moved here, I think played bus call at Tin Roof. They're a trio, great harmonies, and we've already worked together. They want to continue that now that they've moved here, but they said, I think they got on stage and just like, pow. And she said people were going like, backing up like, wow, who's this? They just weren't used to seeing that sometimes in a bar, you know, at Tin Roof or whatever. But
instead of being a trio, they became a power trio.
Right. Yeah. And then the host got back on stage. Holy blank. What was that, you know? So, yeah. I've had, and the one band that I was really proud of, the one review I was really proud of, is a group out of Canada that I worked with for a number of times. They opened for CeeLo Green and Aaron Carter and got asked to do a Super Bowl pre-party for Victoria's Secret and just had so many opportunities. But they played in an Iowa City bar. I was where I'm from, actually, but the reviewer, there was one line in his review that I guess the main act was lame, and it was a guy, a name you'd know from a boy band,
right,
going solo. And they were the opening act. My group was the opening act, and he said it looked as if they should be on a much larger stage somewhere, because he just couldn't get, the whole review was about the opening act, and then the last paragraph maybe hit the headliner.
Yeah, it sounds like the headliner was resting on their laurels and
their name.
Yep. And the opening act, they stole the show.
Yep.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for a couple of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Amy Wolter.
You're listening to the business side of music.
As a musician, you have a dream. That vision of what success looks like for you. Though it's not only about the money, money is a part of it. Whether you've been extremely successful or just striving to maintain a regular cash flow, you need a plan. Money Concepts can help you develop a customized plan to achieve the financial stability and success you want. For over 40 years, Money Concepts has been providing holistic financial planning services to individuals, families, and business owners. As an independent firm, Money Concepts and their associates are committed to always represent the best interest of the client. It's really about independence coupled with committed benevolent interest, which means that they can represent your client, not a product supplier. It's not about selling products. It's about helping you achieve success. To learn how this can benefit you, contact John Adams at 737-867-9309. That's 737-867-9309 for more information.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives. Whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at music's benefits through the lens of science and medicine, entertainment, and business. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, Amy Wolter is sitting across the podcast table here at Music Dog Studios. She had the opportunity to meet Buddy the music dog earlier when she came in, but he's being a good boy and laying down somewhere else at this point. We started to go down the rehearsal setup, the staging of it. We didn't really get too deep into it. There's really a step-by-step approach on that. Can you dig into that a little more for us?
Already talked about how we crack open the song and create the moments by creating the right arrangement of the song. And we'll experiment with a lot of things. Some things I come up with in my mind ahead of rehearsal. When I actually get there and try it, it just is like, no, it's not right.
Because you have the music in advance.
Yes.
Yeah. That helps.
Yes, definitely. But then most things will play out the way I picture them, but some will fall flat, and we all know it. And it's always an interactive process. Once an artist sees, oh, this is what it's about, then I encourage them to jump in and give their input, and it becomes a real collaborative thing. So yes, so now we've got the moments. Now, what should that song look like? Is the artist playing an instrument? Are they sitting on a stool? Are they working the mic stand, running around the stage with the mic? Are they maybe out in the audience? Who knows? We play with a lot of different things in that aspect. And so we use by the use of natural movement, we get artists to move around where it makes sense. It's fun to kind of get the drummer out from behind the drums and come up maybe and do a interact with the audience with everybody else, and when he can, or have, if there's maybe lead guitar duel, we get them visually apart from each other and then create this back and forth thing and visually make that experience pop with what they're doing and where they're at on stage. So once all those things are figured out, the visuals, we know what's going on in every song, then we say, where do we put these songs in the right order so that they make sense and take the audience on a journey? And Tom's set list in his book, Live Music Method, really works. Artists swear by that. And not to say you can't deviate. It's based on a 45-minute set. That seems to just work. It just clicks with the audience and connects. Also within that, then it even involves, how do we end the song correctly to get the right reaction? Because we always want to come out of the shoot with that first song kind of a big trash can ending at the beginning of end of the first song and the last song to, give it a big finale. So all those different things come into play when we're looking at the arrangement. So now we've got the arrangements, the visuals, the moments happening, and we get the set list order. Now, the transitions. What do we do between songs? Because you've seen probably tons of artists where you're thinking a song ends and they're just lame or looking at each other. What song should we do next? It's just not thought about. So we want to create because you can lose an audience. You can create these great moments and then between songs lose them because, you had them right there in the palm of your hand, and then because you were monkeying around between songs and not knowing what to say or what to do. So not talking between every song, definitely, but when you do speak, set the song up in a way that's going to grab people. Not, avoid phrases like, the name of this next song is, or, I wrote this next song about. No, just take me right to the story. We had this guy tell the story about a song. He wasn't, he just performed the song and just acted like it was no big deal. So we sat him down and go, what? Where were you tell us about where you were when you wrote the song? What, that's what we want to hear. So he's like, well, I was at this castle in England and I'd just broken up with my girlfriend. And we're like, what? Take us to that setting. I was on a plane flying home from, whatever. Go right to the story because that's going to hook people more than.
And it's maybe something they can relate to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially if it's just something that really happened to them. If it's a cover song, then we approach it differently. But in terms of if it really means something to them, or this was a song that my mom always sang to me, or things like that are going to help the audience really connect with who you are as an artist and get inside your head and find out. It gives them more information about you. Plus, it's more interesting to hear a well set up story and not a lot of wasted verbiage. And so, the transition between song, figure out as a band, as a group, who's doing what. I mean, does the drummer need to kick it right off before the applause dies? Because there's a big, like an applause arch where just when it starts to come back down, somebody needs to be doing something. The guitar player starts the riff, drummer starts, somebody's talking. Figure those things out in rehearsal. As weird as it sounds,
I think it really comes down to keeping the momentum going on stage. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
How can people get in touch with you folks at Tom Jackson Productions?
They can go to onstagesuccess.com, or you can email info@tomjacksonproductions.com. And my email is amy@tomjacksonproductions.com as well.
And we'll include those in the show notes.
Great.
Here's a shout out to our loyal listeners. Without all of you, we wouldn't be one of the most listened to music industry interview podcasts, including achieving #1 status in many countries around the world, according to Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our show, please check out our Facebook page at The Business Side of Music Podcast. That's if Facebook can stay online. If you're not aware of that, we lost them this week, and I think people were literally pulling their hair out going, what do I do? What do I do? I wound up making phone calls. Don't forget to subscribe and definitely hit the like button. While you're at it, go to our page on YouTube and click on The Business Side of Music Podcast to subscribe. You can check out our video webcast there and get to see me and our guests, such as Amy here in the studio, along with Buddy, the music dog, on occasion. Last but not least, you check out and follow us on Twitter, or as we call it these days, X. And you can find us there at B-I-Z Music Podcast. Amy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Great to be here, Bob.
Yeah, a wealth of information.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Busan.